All right, we're on the air. Hello, everybody. I'm joined here with John Della Rose, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction, which makes me the leading Arabic voice in degenerate fiction. um,
That makes sense.
but
Makes sense.
anyways, John, it's nice to have you here on the channel. It's been a little too long since you've been on the channel.
Hey, yeah. I think I popped by the other day, didn't I? Maybe I didn't. Oh
Well, the
well.
other day that was like over a month ago,
Was it?
if I
Jeez.
remember.
Yeah. So life's been really hectic over here. We are moving, and it's been a just I don't know, for people, this boring stuff, but for people who've sold houses before, you have to get it all staged and clean up every day before you leave the house. It's just real pain in the butt. And then when I get off work, I'm running because my house I'm moving to is basically a construction site. We just destroyed it. And have gutted it and are doing a bunch of construction to just make it nice because it was really old. So that's been my life as of the last couple months, and it's I'm tired. Yeah,
Exhausted too.
yeah.
But not from any of that, honestly. Nothing that stressful, but just on the job hunt right now, and in the meantime, getting a lot of writing done. I was actually working on a superhero comic right before this. I was working on draft 2 of a comic that I cannot really talk about because the artist doesn't want to announce anything just yet. But I was working on that today.
I tried to give you one job this weekend. You didn't even come through for me.
I looked.
One job.
It wasn't there. It wasn't on. I tried. It wasn't there. They didn't have it.
By the way, if you would have succeeded in those and not sold them to me, but gone on, they're going for like $1,000 a pair of shoes now. So you could have just got some and just like resold them, like set yourself for the week.
Well, I mean, I couldn't have. I looked on the app. They weren't there. I typed it in.
Terrible.
Nothing came up. So they must have like sold out in that first second.
I think they went Chicago only. What I was trying to get Nasser to get me a pair of shoes, and Kanye released new shoes this weekend, and they only dropped in Chicago, like only Chicago. So I think you might be. I think you like it probably checked your IP and you were outside of Chicago. Like
no,
proper.
I'm in it.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
No, maybe not.
I'm on like the outskirt, but it's on my address. So I mean, I'm there. So
oh well.
So I have no clue. I have no clue why that didn't exactly work.
Oh well, what can you do? So that's that, and then launching the Dynamite Thor campaign this week. It's been hectic so far, just running from stream to stream already, and going to continue doing that for the next few days at the very least here. So, which is a bummer because I like to spend this time writing, and
me too,
and I have to talk to people.
Me too. Like I don't stream anywhere near as what I used to, and every time I'm writing, I'm like, yeah, this is so much nicer. This is why I don't stream. every morning I do about 3,000 words, and I'm like, this is so nice and peaceful.
That's amazing. I've not been on that for a while.
I've rarely missed a day in the past like year. I think I could count on my fingers. I lost track of it, but I had like in the last year, I counted on my fingers like how many times I did not write for a day. Outside of days where like I had work, like on like all my like days where I never had work, never had anything else. I think I could count it on my fingers how many times I didn't write and how many times I didn't hit the goal. My daily goal is 3,000 words.
So, yeah.
So did that this morning. And, got about a third of the way through a comic script before starting the stream. So it's been a pretty productive day. But I'm glad to see that your book is about halfway there, or just close to halfway there.
So my goal is to get halfway there today for sure. So we definitely want to get there on that. For those who aren't aware of this, is I went and I found an old Golden Age character who'd been totally forgotten, who has like the most ridiculous superpower of all time, which is that he's immune to explosives. And so because he's immune to explosives, he's not afraid of explosives, and he wears a belt of sticks of dynamite and goes around chucking dynamite at bad guys, and then uses the dynamite to make explosive blasts to propel him through the air in flight with a chain of explosives behind him. So it's awesome. And I made a new story of this character and revitalized this character for modern times, kind of made him my own thing. So I'm having a lot of fun with this.
It's wacky. I dig it. I think a lot more people should go back to those older public domain heroes, and I'm going to put the link here in the chat. And I say that because there have been times where I've read some people trying to revamp them, and there was one that I'm going to call out. I think it's from Dynamite Comics called Project Superpowers, I think. And I read the first issue, and I don't know if you read it, but the whole first issue is basically Orange Man bad.
I heard about it, and it seemed a little too woke for me. So I just wanted to make something that was fun. And so and my thought was like, what would make this superhero different than others, and how would I put him in a situation with explosions that makes it sort of like a different thing than you would see elsewhere. And I thought, what would be fun with an immunity to explosives? Suicide bombers, right? And where would I get the most
Right.
like suicide bombers? Well, Iraq. And so throwing this blonde American guy who is immune to explosives into Iraq, into like these like hotbeds of terrorism is absolutely hilarious to me. And that's where I went with the book. And you'll look on the Kickstarter and you'll see that there's not a ton of images or like alluding to any of that stuff. I'm very much trying not to get banned from Kickstarter, so I'm like keeping this is an interesting campaign. I'm keeping the best images and the funniest, most interesting images off of Kickstarter because I don't want to get banned. So just know that the book is like 10 times better than what you're actually going to get from the preview images. Just had to be very careful with Kickstarter. I don't want people mass flagging me and stuff.
That's a good idea. And I like that. It's pretty ironic. I think some of the best stories have that ironic element to them. But I actually did write a comic with public domain superheroes after I read that Project Superpowers book, and it was so awful. I was like, I must make this better. So
you're like, I could do this better.
I wrote one, but it needs work. I haven't touched it in like a year. Like I finished like the first draft like probably more than a year ago, actually, a year and a half ago probably. And I'm gonna get back to it because depending how the upcoming Indiegogo does next month, me and Jason, we're thinking about revisiting that because I think there was a lot of good there, and there's just a few specific things I need to tweak and cut it up. Twitless in the chat says I can do this better is pretty much how everyone gets into comics. Basically,
mine wasn't I can do this better. Mine was like, hey, there was this great book and DC Comics, those assholes canceled it, and I want this back. So it was Stephanie Brown Batgirl, and I absolutely thought it was the best book I still think it's one of the best books that's ever come out. And they canceled it because DC has to reset their universe every like 3 years now and start over completely. So they just like got rid of Stephanie Brown Batgirl. And then they brought in Gail Simone to write like the Barbara Gordon Batgirl relaunch. And it was just like a total 180 train wreck from the most beautiful comics they've ever produced. And they just erased it from their continuity. So I'm like, F this. I'm going to make my own superhero that like has that same feel as Stephanie Brown Batgirl. And that's where my Metagirl came from.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take a shot every time a Marvel or DC book, the run lasts longer than about 3 years, and I mean that's guaranteed sobriety. I mean, I don't drink, but I know you do, so I mean that's guaranteed.
I don't
sobriety,
know why. I don't know how anybody like gets involved with these characters anymore. It's like every time they launch a character, I remember when the Dark Knight metal stuff was coming out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let's get into like Silencer. It's so good." I'm like, this isn't gonna last like 12 issues, and sure enough, boom, right?
Yeah. I was
every single
that.
time they launch a character.
It was good, but they canceled it. You're right. I don't know how anyone gets into them. Not just the new ones, but even the old ones. It was I don't know. It's pretty annoying when you're reading it and it's like, all right, issue 25 of Spider-Man. Then at the end, there's a preview for like the next big event, and then
right.
Then you get the next big event, and then it's like spinning out of the next big event. Spider-Man #1. I'm like, weren't we just at #1 like 2 years ago. So it just kind of
we
drifts you back and forth.
It's unbelievable. I don't mind the renumbering so much. It's just like it's confusing, I guess, for people like me who read in trade paperback, right? Because like I don't want to deal with the single issues. Nobody's writing single issues anymore in the mainstream industry, like in terms of trying to get stories done like that in a single issue. So there's just no point to it. But when you're trying to like catch up in trade paperback, you're like, well, you have to like go to this series, and then it got canceled here, and it became this series, and then like this character took over the series, so it became this, and then like you have to circle back to this series, and it's like it's so painful to read all that stuff. So I don't know. I think it's much easier with these beautiful Kickstarters like this with Dynamite Thor. There's a very small continuity to play with from the Golden Age, which they didn't even really care about continuity back then. So it's just a few stories that are fun and kind of self-contained. And then there's my book, and my book is just his grandson. So you really don't even need to know you don't need to know the history or anything like that. It just picks up, and that's how I brought it into modern times, right? I'm like, okay, so he just inherited the powers, and that's how my book kind of starts.
Yeah, and you know what else? It wasn't just that it was like, I could do this better. That was like some of it for me when I started to read things other than like 70s or 80s or 90s comics, because I started out reading some of the older X-Men stuff. And, my first comic was the Chris Claremont, Jim Lee X-Men #1, and also the Chris Claremont and Mark Silvestri X-Men versus the Fantastic Four 4-issue series. I was reading great stuff like that, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. I want to do something just like this. And then when I started going to the shop, and I was like, all right, let's see what new comics are like. I kind of walked out of there like, yeah, I can do this better. There was still good stuff. There was still good stuff. Don't get me wrong, but like the main stuff that's being pushed, it was kind of awful most of the time.
The old stuff's just so much interesting, and I think it's because they were really allowed to develop characters and kind of do their own things, and now we just have this endless cycle of rebooting, and this endless cycle of just keeping the characters stagnant for the movie properties, and then trying to invent like the new woke version of the characters so that they can try to force a black, gay, transgendered something into movie theaters, because that's really the agenda that they want now. And when that's all that's going on in the comics, it's just not fun anymore. So I go back to old comics regularly. If you watch my channel, you'll see that I pretty much review these old Marvel Epic collections, which are just like big collections of 25 issues from the 60s to 90s, and they stop at Onslaught, which is kind of where everything went downhill after that. And it's just good stuff. And that's what I want to create. I want to create those stories that have the feel where you actually like get a character developing in a single issue, where you like feel like something actually happened in that single issue that is like a full story. I think that's important, and everybody's kind of lost that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, what was I about to say? I just had it. Oh my goodness, I just lost it. I had a great point while you were talking, and then I completely lost it. Let me read a little bit of the chat real quick. Maybe I'll remember. Viana Wolf says, yeah, Silencer was fun, but now for work. Have fun, everybody. We'll see you, dude. Thanks for popping in.
Later, Viana.
Samuel Olkey says, gotta go back to the past, microwaving the same slop over and over. Otherwise, I remember exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, it seems as though the whole movie universe is probably almost the worst thing that could have happened to comic books.
I know, it really is. Honestly, if you look at the downturn, it happened kind of, it's crept in the late 80s, early 90s, and that's when Marvel started licensing their stuff out for movies. So they stopped being about trying to build their comic universes into something beautiful for the sake of their own stories, and they started being about, okay, let's freeze these properties so that we can keep them for the movies for copyright purposes. And that you just can't tell compelling stories from that vantage. So that's where us indies have a big advantage, where we can kind of do what we want and just take risks. We can have fun with our characters. We can develop our characters, and I hope you guys will support us.
Oh, totally. And I think 1987 was probably around where it started to turn, right when they got rid of Jim Shooter over at Marvel. I think that's when it started to turn
Yeah, what's
I
interesting
mean,
is
I
listening
still
to
like some
the interviews.
stuff.
All the guys at Marvel's hated Shooter so much. He was a taskmaster. But at the same time, like I was listening to an interview with Doug Mensch, and Doug Mensch worked for Marvel. He was doing Master of Kung Fu and Iron Fist in the late 70s, early 80s. And he's like, Shooter was such a prick to him all the time. Like, and he had one story where he was like, I'm in the elevator and Master of Kung Fu was a low print run. So like it was like, hard to find.
200,000.
They just didn't make as many of those as they did like Spider-Man. And but comic books used to be 100% returnable. So Spider-Man might print 1 million copies, but they'd return 800,000 of them, and they'd have to like eat that cost. Well, Master of Kung Fu always sold out at the comic shops. And so he was in an elevator with Jim Shooter, and Jim Shooter's like, so it's selling out all the time. And Doug Mensch goes, yeah. He goes, I guess we should probably it would be smart to up the print run, wouldn't it? And Doug Mensch goes, yeah, I mean, it'd be great to get this comic into more people's hands. And Jim Shooter just looks at him and goes, well, we're never going to do that, and walks out the elevator.
I actually never heard that story before.
So, and Doug Mensch thought Shooter was kind of doing it just to spite him. I don't know, but I don't know the other side of the story, but it made me laugh regardless. Yeah.
Yeah, I never heard about that before, but I think Shooter definitely had a system, and I think it worked, and it produced plenty of great comics there from 78 to 87. It was a fantastic run at Marvel, but all that old Marvel stuff is good, even before Jim Shooter. It just sort of, when we get to like there's always been decent stuff, but it just kind of goes downhill pretty fast, like partway into the 90s.
Yeah. It does. I just finished reading Acts of Vengeance. Do you remember that crossover?
Acts of Vengeance. When was that from?
92, 93. It was a big Avengers crossover, and it rolled through all the Avengers books like Iron Man, Captain America, West Coast. And
I don't think I read that one.
Basically, all the villains get together and they realize like we're shooting ourselves in the foot by like having Doctor Doom face the Fantastic Four over and over and over again. Like the Fantastic Four obviously know him at this point, know how to defeat him. So why don't we just stick him against, Captain America instead, right? And they all try to swap who they're facing in order to wear down the Avengers and kill them. And like Loki is masterminding it. It was interesting, but you see the start there of not a bad concept. But and of course the villain fights are all fun and all that, and you get Eric Larson and Todd McFarlane were starting to get into their jam at that point where everybody liked it right before Image.
Yeah.
And but the problem was like there just really wasn't a lot of substance to the books, right? Everyone was like this epic knockdown, drag them out fight, and you got the cool visuals and everything like that, but you really did not get the character development that you got in the Shooter years, like you mentioned. So I see that creep in. And then it really escalates through the X-Men books, in the mid '90s and all that, and it's really sad to watch.
Yeah, it's sad because I think they started to go away from the more human aspects of people, and they were like, it's got to be all action all the time. When the most interesting thing about a Spider-Man book is his problems at home, like how's he gonna go to the big dance but also has to be Spider-Man? It's like that sort of thing. It's like, how's he gonna get the $500 that his aunt needs for whatever bills? Like that's like the most interesting stuff. And it was like the more I read from like more modern books, it's like the less they focus on that and the more they kind of just, I don't know, make the problems so bland, the personal problems so bland, and everyone likes to focus on like, oh, what's the big villain reveal twist thing? Oh, did we tell you about this new villain that's like another like a like 8th different Doctor Doom? When they should have been focusing more on the actual character development, so we have a reason to care for this, another derivative villain that's going to be there for 2 issues, and then we never hear of him again.
Yeah, and then the next writer's not going to bother using him because he sucked, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. So we don't got that problem. I don't know. So I'm trying to do something different, and I'm trying to just like really emulate the old pulps in the way that like they just took out their chances. Like when I read the old like Dynamite Thor stuff from the 50s, it was like, you know, he'd just be walking along power lines like for the sake of it, and like didn't worry about electrocuting himself, nothing. Just like walking along, he's like, I just got to cut out of traffic and I get over there faster. It's like, holy crap. And so just random stuff like that, or he'll take a stick of dynamite and he'll like a dude will be facing him with a gun and he'll just chuck it and it'll like do this like little like you know, controlled explosion that knocks the gun out of his hand, and that's it. Like for the villain, it's like they would overthink this too much and be like, that's not realistic today, and try to like deconstruct the character, right? And it's just not fun when you can have fun by chucking a stick of dynamite at somebody's gun. I think that's rad, and I want more of that. And so I'm trying to capture that feel where it's just like it's that sense of wonder that like when you were a kid, you would have like you'd just like not worry about it and just like want the adventure. And I think the most fun comics of like the Stan Lee era and all that have that to it, and that's what I'm trying to recapture again.
Oh, definitely. I love the feel of those old comics. They definitely they're definitely magical. I think that's the best way to put it. And I'm not even using that remotely in any sense of like in any joking kind of sense. It really was magical. The Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko era of Marvel really is magical. You have some fantastic books there, some of the best art and storytelling combinations we've ever seen. It's probably, yeah. I'm kind of debating now, like what exactly would be the best era. But I mean, if that's not number one, it's definitely like tied for number one. There's a few other eras I like that are like really close with it, though. you feel me?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's close, but like that's definitely a magical era. And also, again, in the chat for anyone that's just tuning in, we've got about 12 people in here. John De La Rose has launched his book, Dynamite Thor: The Explosive Golden Age Superhero Returns. He's got 52 backers right now, 28 days left, and he's very close to halfway funded. So we'd like to get him some more backers. So that's the link right there in the chat, and I'll share screen here in a second. But if you guys want some fun books, then this is definitely the place to go and get them. And I believe you do have some add-ons on here, right, for your other books as well?
We're trying to we're just trying to get this book funded and pay for all the art and a couple things. So I've got at the $10 tier, you can get the book digitally, of course, because I want to just make it easy for people to read. That's about the price you'd pay for a Marvel or DC comic of this length. At the $20, you can get the Dynamite Thor paperback. You can get the whole story of my Dynamite Thor, which is my own character, my own creation, brand new superhero, and ties in to my Flying Sparks universe. I'm creating a superhero universe here with the hopes of, you know, doing a team book and all that eventually down the line. I'm really trying to be the Hispanic Stan Lee here. And then at $40, I'll stop. What's up?
Well, I was just going to say, you know what I like about that is I like that you're taking your time with that before jumping to a hero book, because I really want to like hero team up books that are just like okay, sorry, I worded that wrong. I would like to enjoy certain hero books that just start out as team books, but oh my goodness, I hate when they have to introduce the whole team, because then no one gets any sort of development. I like what you're doing. It's hard
because you got 5, 6 characters or even more in one book, and you can only give them a few panels at a time. I read one that came out of the indie community, I'd say last year, and it's just that there was no character that you could care about in there, because like you don't even know who's who really. And I mean, you could tell like one guy's black or whatever, so you know who he is, but it's like you don't really get a sense of who these guys are in the story, and it's really tough. So yeah, I think it's a lot better to have established characters first. If you look at again what Stan Lee did, I mean, like he didn't come out with Avengers until he had like books of the Hulk out there and Iron Man out there. Kind of know who they are.
Yeah, then they revived Cap and they brought him back after a hiatus, and then they finally did the team then after everyone had their development, and
they were all familiar characters. So it's like you didn't need to start them with like, you know, familiarizing the audience at that point. So everybody's going to have their own storylines. Dynamite Thor's got his own storyline. Metagirl's obviously got hers in Flying Sparks. And I'm going to have a third also, and I'm going to keep it to 3 because I think it's easier to, a rule of thumb I like for my novel writing is you want to keep the perspectives to like 4 or less. And that way, because otherwise you go George R.R. Martin with it and you're reading a chapter of, somebody, and then they've got another chapter of some other character that the reader might not care about. And it just slows the book down for people. So I try to keep it limited in order to do that. So I'm going to keep it like a 3-person team eventually. This is my grand plan. I don't think I've talked about this anywhere. But it was supposed to be Dynamite Thor and Metagirl, and I've got another one called The Cosmic Warrior, and that book's about 2/3 done. So if you follow along with these, you'll be able to get these characters' own stories. It'll make everything deeper and richer, and I'm going to build this like whole universe. That's my grand vision. And so yeah. Started out right here.
Yeah, I really like that idea. Actually, in the superhero book I'm writing right now, it's a solo superhero title, but there is a superhero team that she comes in contact with. But they're not the main focus. And what I like about it is that like you could, get a few moments with like the hero team that exists there in the world, but we're not quite following them yet, even though they tie into the story. So that way nobody's quite lost when they're like, I got 10 characters to keep track of. It's not really 10, but you know what I mean. When they're like, yeah, there's so many different ones. Who's this? Who's that? Which one was this one again? So like the way I'm doing it with this one is there's a hero team out there, but she just has brief interactions with them. So that way no one's confused out there. But it is a solo book, and I don't know if it would ever lead to a team book. I think it might just be a miniseries, probably like 3 to 5 issues, but I can't say much more about it yet because the artist does not want to announce it yet until he's done with the first issue. But this is really interesting to see right here. I really like this. You got Ron Frenz right here doing this cover.
That made me happy. So Ron Frenz, as many might know, is my favorite comic book artist of all time. He worked on Spider-Girl, which is my favorite comic book of all time. And he also did Spider-Man, of course, which is where he became really famous because he was, I believe, the first artist in Amazing Spider-Man to draw the black costume. So, he came on board about that time, which really blew up his career. He had a very long run on Thor also. And just one of those workhorse guys who has that great Marvel House style that draws really heroic poses, as you can see here. And I've just idolized this guy since I was a kid, and I'm very excited to be able to get him on for the cover for this.
I think it was Mike Zeck that drew the black suit for the first time. I think it was Secret Wars #8.
In Secret, yeah, but he did for Amazing Spider. Ron Frenz was on Amazing Spider-Man, right? So that was the first time in that book.
Oh, okay. In that book, I actually have. I know it's a big debate with those two, and then Marvel team up. What is it? 141.
Right.
I think 141. I have all 3 of those on my bookshelf actually, but I can't show it to you like the way I'm angled because it's like over on the right wall, and I just can't carry my computer over there to show you. But I do have all 3 of those, so no matter which one it actually is, I have all 3.
Awesome.
But I just want to read a little of the chat real quick. We got the Bunderdome in here. It says 2 writers I like. So nice to see you here, Tim, and thank you so much for that compliment.
Timmy.
I'm not sure if he meant me and you or if he just meant me because I'm big enough to be 2 people. Alrighty then, that kind of failed. But nice to see Jim O'Reilly here in the chat. Nice
I gave you a courtesy laugh.
All right. Well, Jim O'Reilly is a fantastic artist. So you guys should all go subscribe to him. He does some live streams sometimes. He's a fantastic artist. Let's see. Warren JB says, GRRM was exactly the example that popped into my head.
Oh, yeah. You really lost track of it.
Yet, but I mean, that's what I hear.
Pure disaster. He really lost track of the characters and just kept expanding all the character perspectives, and it's like you can never attach to anybody because it's like, well, somebody might die at any moment, which is obnoxious as it is, but like you just might not see that character until the next book. It's like, geez. And I don't think he's ever going to finish the series, to be honest. I mean, I think he's stalled out and has this problem now where he's like, it grew too big for what it was, and now he just feels like a pretender, so he can't do it. It happens a lot with the like Gamma Male mentalities. You see this when they're often very smart guys, so they can come up with cool concepts and all that, but they always have this like nagging fear that like they're not performing like up to what it should be or whatever. And so when they get these huge multi-million-dollar contracts, they fail a lot at performing. You'll see it with that personality type quite a bit.
Well, I think it's I haven't read any of them, but I think it's cool that he could write such a long book, because all of mine, without a doubt, come out to 50,000 words, and I've written probably I think I'm writing my 12th novel right now. I don't know the exact number. It's probably about 12, and all but 2 of them have come out to 50,000 words. One of them came out to like 66, and the other one I think came out to like 70 something. But like, I do not know how anyone could write that long for every single book. Stephen King, he's got like so many long books. I'm just like, how do you write something that long? Like, all of mine come out to the bare minimum.
Yeah, I don't know. I plan my stories intentionally so they can come out to the minimum, because on Amazon, if I write a 60,000 word book, or if I write a 120,000 word book, I'm still going to get $4.99 for it. So I try to plan my plots so that I get to that 60, 70,000 range to be long enough to keep everybody happy, but to give a nice condensed plot without any padding also. And then people can move on to the next book just as easily. And I make a little more money off of it. So that seems to be the way to go.
Yeah, I don't do any plotting or planning. It's just that I'm very straightforward to the point. So I mean, I'm not a very wordy fellow, so all of my stuff is like very straight to the point. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example, but if I give an example, it'll probably come off pretty weird. But we got 17 people. Huh?
You don't plan out your books, 4 books in advance?
Not one bit. I have a small idea and I start with it. I'm like, all right, this one's going to be about a possessed doll, and then I just go. Or just something small like that. That's what I'm writing right now, is about a possessed doll. But we got 17 people in here, so guys, please hit that thumbs up and share out the link to the stream, and also share out the link to John's Kickstarter right here. Dynamite Thor, I'm putting it in the chat again. Please back it if you can, you guys, and also please share it out to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you use, to spread the word about indie comics. If you got any friends that like indie comics, if you got any friends that would like this type of book, then definitely send it their way, you guys. It's based on the Golden Age hero, Dynamite Thor, and I think you said that this is his grandson in this book. So it's got a modern twist on the character, but anyone that likes Golden Age would like this, or anyone that likes really any age, I think, would like this book. It's got a fun art.
If you just like silly superhero stuff that's just like fun, you'll definitely be into this. I'm just trying to capture that feeling that you used to have, like when you would pick up a single issue. There's more than a single issue in here. This is going to be about I'm hoping we hit the stretch goal so we can get this to a 54-page book. But we'll get this. You'll get that feeling. It'll be a quick read. It'll be fun. It'll be nicely paced, and without any degeneracy or anything like that. You won't have that in my books. So there you go.
You know what? I actually, with the superhero book I'm writing right now, since I'm doing draft 2 right now, we actually removed the degeneracy from draft 1.
Good for you. Remove all degeneracy.
So it's actually going to be more of like a PG-13 sort of comic instead of more adult. so I'm definitely making it for a wider audience, this upcoming superhero book. I don't know when exactly that one launches.
Nice.
The Bunderdome says, "What was the degeneracy removed?" Honestly, most of it was just like swearing and stuff. Like, I mostly removed that stuff because I was like, you know what? There's no reason to have it in here. This is a book that someone in their teens could read and wouldn't really have a problem with it, outside of the swearing. So I just kind of removed just the swearing. There weren't any decapitations to remove, oddly enough. Usually there's at least one decapitation per book, but there were none in this one. So it wasn't that much to remove.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do another screen share again, and then we can look through some more of the art. And I know you said most of the best pages you said aren't on here, so I take you've been tweeting those ones out. But let's scroll down here and look at some of the art. I do like the art, and I like the irony that you were talking about earlier. Bombs don't, he's bombs and explosions and stuff don't affect him, so he's in Iraq. I think that's the funniest thing in the world.
That's what I'm trying to do too. So yeah, it's fun having him fight super terrorists. Super terrorists, that's a new thing. Yeah, I've got that. He fights super terrorists. He fights monsters out there. We go into some Mesopotamian lore. Just a lot of fun. And he drinks beer. Like every good red-blooded American. So there you go.
Alrighty then. Yeah. I'm not a good red-blooded American, but I do support this.
I love the monster that he created here. It's like it's got these like hooves, so it's like this like almost like satanic thing, with like a goat furry god or something like that. Then he's got like the weird face and horns, of course, a little devilish, also like a second monster. And then he's got all the tentacles also. So it's like three monsters mashed up into one that Dynamite Thor has to face here. It's good stuff.
I really like that. Is that the main threat, or are the terrorists the main threat in this book?
It's a combo. So I like to really break things down into single issues, as I mentioned, and this was a 2-issue project, and so one of the stories really has the terrorist as a main threat as it goes along, and of course it builds the personal complications throughout both of them that kind of stack up, just like your old comics used to do, and then one of them's got the monster also going on. So.
Yeah, that's really a great way to put it, because a lot of the comics I've liked from Marvel have been like the what's it called, X-Men versus Fantastic Four by Claremont and Silvestri, and X-Men versus the Micronauts, which was Claremont and I think Butch Guice. And each of those miniseries are like 4 issues, but each one is so great and they stand alone and they tell their own story that connects to the overall story. And so I really like that technique that each of those are.
It's not exactly Moloch. Listen there, because Twitless. Oops, sorry. Twitless mentions Moloch. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
My
hear
internet
you.
keeps doing this every time I stream these days. That's irritating. Twitless asks, is he fighting Moloch? It's Moloch inspired, but it's not Moloch exactly. So that definitely was part of the inspiration of this. Nice catch.
And all right, so I know you did a little restoration here with the colors of this. So is this another add-on, or is this a stretch goal?
So it's a different thing. So at $20 you get my book.
Yeah.
At $40 you get both my book and the restoration. So the restoration is kind of a different project, but we've restored all of the old Dynamite Thor stories. We've gotten scans of every single page, and we're going through and recoloring and just remastering all of it, so it's a little easier to read than some of these old scans. So that's a separate book. At the $40 tier, you'll get both. So we have to pay everybody to do this work here.
Yeah.
It's meant to give you a nice Dynamite Thor experience. And then at the $50 tier, I always like doing hardcovers. And I they're a little more pricey, but I combine both of them into one book. So if you want like one book with everything, that's where you go to be able to get this.
All right, cool. Mm-hmm. And let me take a look down here at the stretch goals. All right, so the let's see. So at $6,000, interior chapter covers for the Dynamite Thor book by our main artist, Donald Kent. I think that's pretty cool. I like that you did that in Flying Sparks. I like that they had a cover for each chapter.
Yeah, I like adding that. And then also what it does is later down the line, it allows me to kind of like re-release these as single issues if I feel like doing that. I like having options. And especially if, who knows, maybe a publisher is going to pick me up down the line, wants to, knock my stuff out in single issues. Well, I've got it all done with covers at that point. So it helps on that front to commission that art to get that done. It also adds a little to the books. Then you get these nice covers. We have one. I've been showing it around. I'll pull it up. This is too hot for Kickstarter for the chapter covers. So I won't put this on Kickstarter. But if we get there, how do I share my screen? All right. If we get there, this will be one of the chapter covers. And then on yeah. And then the other one is actually Dynamite Thor facing off with a suicide bomber, but it's that Spider-Man looking at Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other. So he basically copied the meme and then changed it around so it has Dynamite Thor and a terrorist. So we won't be showing these on the Kickstarter. This is exclusively for Nasser's program here, as we don't want to get banned. But this is the kind of cool stuff you're going to get, once we get to the stretch goals.
I really like that one. That one makes me laugh.
It's so funny. I love his eyes are just like absolutely crazy with glee, and then the terrorist is like, "Oh my god!"
I mean, he has nothing to worry about. He should be used to it.
Nothing to worry about. He's like, "Let's have some fun."
Right. It's like, why are you worried? Isn't this your calling?
I know.
That's really nice.
72 versions are not included in the Kickstarter, just so you know. So,
oh man, I'd settle for just one. I'm putting the Kickstarter link there in the chat. So everybody, please go back that. We got 15 people in here. So guys, please hit that thumbs up, share out the link to the stream, and also share out the link for the Kickstarter and back it if you can. Tell all your friends, tell your aunts, your grandmas, your cousins, everybody you know. Tell them to buy a copy. Tell them to buy 3 copies. They make great gifts for any comic fans out there. If you know any comic fans, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. And let's go through the tiers again. So let's see. All right, so $10 is digital, right?
Yep, $10 is digital, so you can get this pretty inexpensively if you just want to read the story in digital format. We don't have to pay for printing that way. Of course, it makes it a lot easier on our end. But yeah, it helps support the art, helps get this going, and that's what we need to cover right now. We need to get this funded by any means possible. But definitely recommend the hardcover version. I think that's going to be cool. Not going like my other hardcovers. I will not have those available off of the crowdfund, so that will be the only way you can get those.
You need to show me where you get your hardcovers made, because I was actually thinking about making some. So after the stream, send that my way, please. But yeah, sure, the digital tier is also great for all you international folk. I know we definitely got some international people here in the chat. I know I saw at least 2 of them in here today. So for those that are international, if you don't want to have to deal with the shipping costs and the customs and all that stuff, then digital is the way to go. And then, all right, so then at $20, that's the digital and the graphic novel.
Yeah, so I include digital with all the print copies, of course. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, and then 40, and all right, so 40 is for digital for the comic, and then for the restoration one, let's take another look.
Yeah, so you get both books
here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys did a great job with that.
Thanks. Yeah, it's really cool. We are about on the digital. That's the only thing we have left to do. We're about 60% through getting that done. It will be completely done by the end of the campaign. My goal is to deliver all of the digital rewards like immediately as the campaign ends. Just get that to you guys quickly, and then hopefully we'll be able to print this and get this going a lot faster than I promised. I just don't. I want to under promise and over deliver for you guys. That's always been my goal. And so we've got our printer process in place now, and hopefully we can get that going fast and get books into your hands.
That's a fantastic goal, and I like that you've got pretty much the whole thing done. The comic's done, the restoration is mostly done. I like that you have that all done before you launch. That's a place I'm hoping to get to with my upcoming comics. So hopefully I can get to that place. I think I will with the upcoming superhero comic, because the artist wants to get that done before we even announce it, so that's pretty cool. So,
nice.
Hopefully some of my future comics will be done before launch. I really like that you're able to do that, and Tim and Mark, who are there in the chat, the Bunderdome, I like that they're able to do that. They've also got a fantastic book. I'm going to actually make them a wrench real quick, so that way they could, let's see, add moderator. All right, so if the Bunderdome, if you guys want to put the link to your campaign as well in the chat, you guys can go ahead. And all right, so let's see. So $50, that was for the hardcover. Alrighty then. And then $80 is the. All right, cool. So you're doing a T-shirt. Is the T-shirt design? Is it the cover, or is that?
I'll pull that up for you too. I wanted to do something different because I've been doing cover T-shirts lately, And I wanted one that I would rock. I personally won't rock cover T-shirts. I don't know. I don't like them. No offense if you do. That's fine if you do. But so what I did is we actually grabbed the Dynamite Thor logo from the like original comics. And so and he had a black tee just like this, in an explosion. And some of the panels don't have the T in it. So they weren't super consistent back then. And then we got this like retro faded red, so that it like creates this like retro faded look for it. So you can actually like just look like the superhero costume itself. I thought that's really cool. I'm trying to get a sample made so I can wear these on air myself. So hopefully I'll have one very shortly. And I love it. I think this is cool. It's subtle, so you don't have to feel like a geek outside the house. But then the people who know will know that you're rocking this cool Golden Age character.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't realize I actually had stopped sharing. I thought I was still sharing when I was looking through the tiers. But I'm gonna go back to sharing.
And then the poster will be of the Ron Friends art, because that deserves a large scale print for just the beautiful art there. I just thought it was great. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. All right, and then so that's the $90 one. Is that one has all that stuff?
That'll get the hardcover. Yeah. So that just $20 for a T-shirt and poster each. That's pretty inexpensive these days for you. These are very nice T-shirts. It's from Crypto Fashion. If you ever bought from them, they have really great quality stuff. Love their work. So good value. I'm trying to give good value for everybody here. And then at $100, Donald Kent. It's nice to finally have an American artist on things, but he is willing to do a sketch in the front cover of the book for you. So you will get a sketch on your book, and that we've limited just for his time's sake. And then we go up and we've got his original art for one of the tiers also. And then we go up to $250, which is the killer value of everything. So think about this. You get the hardcover, you get both paperbacks. So that's like $90 right there. You get Flying Sparks volumes 1 through 3 along with that. So that would be 110 plus 50. So it's $160 right there. So right there, you are at $160 of books if you're buying them retail. And then on top of that, you're going to get a sketch from him and an original art page, which is going to be one of the covers or one of the like full splash pages, which are really nice. That's just $90 for those. So you'll never get an artist to sell you a cover page of something for that cheap. I mean, this is really, we've got 3 left. Somebody's already backed this because we've only got the 2 chapter covers and the 2 splash pages. So those are the only opportunities to get those. And I definitely think this is absolutely huge value, and it will help us fund a lot faster. So grab those before they're gone.
Yeah, that's a fantastic deal. That's one of the best crowdfunding deals. Probably the best crowdfunding deal I've ever seen, because you're getting so much right there with all 3 volumes of Flying Sparks and an original page. It's either going to be a splash page or be one of the chapter covers. That's incredible. That's an incredible deal, and you get so much more in there that I can't even remember it all. But yeah, that's a very great tier. So if you guys in the chat are debating getting one of these tiers, go ahead and get the $250 one. You guys won't regret it. Like you said, you're not going to find cover art that cheap.
No way. So yeah, Donald Kent really just wants to get his stuff out there. He's willing to do streams, by the way, too. So if you want to talk to him or whatever, he's a really chill guy, and he it's been nice, really nice working with him. I'll try to get him on my lunch stream a bunch over the next month, so you can get to know him a little bit and get to know his art. He's really into these Golden Age characters. This is why it made it such a great match. Is he's been trying to revitalize Golden Age characters for years and years and years and years, and it made sense to team up with him on that level.
Let's see. Twitless says reported to Kickstarter for Mac user.
Ooh, I am a Mac user.
Oh, Mac. I agree. Report all Mac users. PC only. Let's see. Twitless says, I'm waiting for a campaign to provide me a solid amount of liberal tears.
Yeah.
Tears like instead of like crying, he means like the other tears. So I'm not
liberal tears. That's really funny. This'll if they get a hold of this will create the tears in terms of the crying way. definitely it's packed with that kind of stuff. It's a trigger warning book for sure. But I'm I'm trying to keep the mention of that off of Kickstarter, so keep it to yourself.
All right, so nobody tell Kickstarter, nobody start any drama. just promote the book and especially promote it to all your liberal friends. They'll enjoy it. But anyways, guys, I think that's all for today's stream. John, it was great having you on, and we still got definitely we got 13 people here still in the chat. So guys, please share out the link to this stream and also share out the link to the Kickstarter. I'm putting it again in the chat. I've pretty much been spamming it throughout the stream. It's also down below in the description. If you guys would prefer to grab it that way, it's in the description and it's in the chat. So guys, please share out the link to that. We're making comics great again. This is how we do it, with fun comics like this, guys. So please spread the word and have a fantastic day, everybody. Peace.
We the best comics.